We just wanted to say there's two best men up here, but there's one best man down here. Just want to give a big thank you to Owen for all his emceeing today. Done a great job. There's some booze over there. So these guys right here, they're a real London power couple. Shaani works in human resources. John works in corporate governance. Prem? Remember? So to put it in these company terms, congratulations on your appointment to the board and promotion to wife, Shaani Seeley. About time, eh? I think we all know this new legal entity is going to flourish. Good to see John taking the advice and directive from all his non-execs and investors, Prem, Andrew, Lynn, and Mike, in making this announcement. I know they were all very keen to add some female representation to the board. So welcome to the family officially, Shaani. We are a weird and wonderful bunch. It feels strange to welcome you to the family, not because it's a bad thing, Shaani, but because in truth, Shaani, you and your family have been a big part for some time now. You've made some good times better and some hard times easier. Sounds a bit like John's speech as well. When we did a bit of practice, and turns out we are twins. Now I've lost one. But because in truth, Shaani, there we go again, you and your family have been a big part of that. You've made some good times better and some hard times easier. And you've not only been there for John, but you've been there for all of us as a family. So thank you. All right. It's too much of the nice stuff. Shaani. Shaani's very dependable. One thing you can always count on is her 20-minute car sickness. Timed almost to the exact minute, Shaani obviously wants everyone to relive the evening's delightful meal. Please do consider your Uber rating when agreeing to let Shaani on your Uber. Mine has still not recovered. But if this is the worst thing about our bride, I think we're doing okay. So as I've always been taught that audience participation is key, I want to pause here with a toast. I know it's early, Shaani, but being an Arsenal fan, you know only too well that it's important to celebrate success while it's going well, as our speech will inevitably go downhill as we get closer to the end. So first toast, we want to do a toast. You get your glasses. To the beautiful new bride, Mrs. Shaani Seeley.
Mrs. Shaani Seeley.
Right, on to John. So, how special is it being a twin? Well, statistically speaking, there's a 1.5% chance of having twins. So it's about a 65 to 1 shot. So I'd say landing that bet is pretty special for us. Not sure John found it too special at the beginning. Attempts to keep me from getting my hands on John included buying buggies with seats one in front of the other, me in the front, having bigger cars with 3 individual seat rows, and also placing us at far ends of the table, the kitchen table. I do have to thank John, as I have won my work starts competition for 3 years in a row, and I'm in no doubt that it's due to all that target practice. My mum made me remove that I used to throw cutlery at him, so it wasn't very nice. I didn't, apparently. I definitely didn't. Oh, we'll get to that. This was definitely not a great character reference for me early doors. It's actually sounding more like the beginning of one of your true crime books, Shaani. Let's just say I obviously couldn't communicate my love for John very well at this point. Luckily, this changed. There was no murder mystery to be solved. there was even the odd glimmers of hope. John had a very special hanky called his ting when he grew up. He took this thing everywhere. With time, it became a luminous biohazard. Had there been a global pandemic, they would have confiscated it for testing. But ting was John's comfort in the chaos. At play school, after John was playing on a toy train, he left his ting within it. When another child started to use it, John began to break down. With one look over to his brother and a point towards the child who had unknowingly committed the biggest act of terrorism to John, I knew what I had to do. Harnessing my power for good this day, I defeated a bully to retrieve John's ting. A real hero move, some might say. Not the play school. They did not see this brotherly act in quite the same way. We were banned, convicted, and exiled from the play school. It was also next door to my mum's house, so it wasn't ideal. But at least John had ting back and now knew I had his back. A little bit more brotherly and best man caliber, I hope. After meeting Shaani, John told me he'd met his new ting. Most people would have thought he had just finished Top Boy on Netflix, but I knew what he meant. Once realizing I couldn't make John like me by sheer brute force alone, I think we've been a pretty good twin team. We moved up to rural Hereford, and we were pretty inseparable. We battled school and college together, ultimately ending up in the same university on the same course. Our dad said recently, after a couple of wines, of course, that he thought it was amazing how much we look out for and care for each other. I think still stunned that John had forgiven me for all of the years of abuse. It was actually John that explained to me how to write a best man speech when he did a great job for Rob and Anna. So if this is rubbish, we can all blame him. He told me that once you've said hello, mention how beautiful the bride is, check and check, maybe done a first toast, it's going well, hey John? That you then talk about the groom. John said that when trying to do a speech about someone, you think about themes. So this first theme is him being our special little brother. John bought a book, read and studied it hard on how to be a best man, as we mentioned, which is amazing for him, because if you know John, he's not the quickest or strongest reader. I think if you asked John to write out a hit list, somewhere would be Mr. Owen's, his secondary school English teacher. It was that man that forced John daily to read out loud, killing all his street cred and any chance with the ladies. Between this nightmare and John's everlasting battle against his special eyes, in which his current working hypothesis involves American prism glasses and black market pills, it showed us how dedicated and serious he took being our big little brother. After leaving university, he only went and got a graduate job, really adulting hard. He'd done so well that he was able to then help recruit a jobless, grey-haired 21-year-old, me, into the same company. What could go wrong? Taking care of me and my future. He's worked and studied hard and become very successful, which now sets him and Shaani up for their future. On to theme number 2. Don't worry, there's not too many more. John's blind loyalty. Now, as it's almost impossible for me to talk negatively about Man United here, Rob, our brother and Liverpool fan, has keenly agreed he can step in at this point.
Thanks, Fred. So, blind loyalty. And no, this is not another joke about John's eyes. John is a die-hard Manchester United fan, which means he's familiar with long periods of disappointment, followed by brief bouts of delusional optimism. Great for marriage training, actually. He once asked his dad what number he was when he played for Manchester United. I think Mike might get a game this year if he's still got a share. But regardless of his dodgy football loyalties, he has found Shaani. Now, when John first met Shaani, he said it was love at first sight, which for him means somewhere between 4 and 6 feet away, slightly blurry, and gave him a headache. But despite his questionable eyesight, and some of you might not know this, but John is a former semi-elite sportsman, which brings us on to our third theme, his athletic prowess. John's exploits won't be found in any record books even, and no sponsorship deals were ever struck. But if you were lucky enough to witness his sporting career, you'd know it spans some of the most demanding venues in amateur sport. Campsite football pitches across northern France, a couple of suspiciously affordable golf courses on the Costa del Sol, and of course the fiercely competitive tennis courts of southwest London. So let's start there. John, a fine tennis player, rose to the giddy heights of men's Division 2 doubles champion. Not Division 1, no, that's for people who can volley. Division 2 is where the real titans clash. A slower, more tactical contest. A game of patience, guile, of lobs, and John's signature pan shots. A forehand so flat it defied physics and somehow cleared the net out of sheer optimism. Underarm serves weren't just tolerated, they were strategic. Now, it should be noted, most of the opponents were twice his age and some of them physically wheezing. But John got the job done, because that's what champions do. Then there was the annual summer holiday football tournaments. Picture it. John, 14 years old, all pace, power and pre-World Cup ambition, absolutely dominating several key fixtures on the way to victory. Now, admittedly, some of these games were against children of 7 and 8 years old, but a win is a win and a trophy is a trophy. But the crown jewel of his sporting achievements, the 2015 Team Family Awesome Golf Tour Championship. This multi-day event consisted of 54 holes of golf, complemented by 72 hours of sustained drinking. While most of us were quietly regretting the 4 a.m. finish the night before, John flourished. Like some kind of golfing hungover phoenix, he rose. He played entire rounds from the recovery position in the golf buggy, armed only with a driver and putter. No irons? No problem. I can still hear him squinting down a par 3 and turning to Fred and asking, "What's the distance here, brother?" Fred replies, 142 yards, mate. I'm taking a 7-iron. John nods with the gravitas of a man about to change the game. All right then, I'll go half a driver. This wasn't golf, this was sporting genius, and that, ladies and gentlemen, you simply cannot teach. So John is a man who's proved that success isn't about the equipment you use, the opposition you face, or even whether the game is entirely age appropriate. It's about showing up, giving your all, and when in doubt, going half a driver. So please raise your glasses to John, semi-elite athlete. Hang on. Now, before we get to the final toasts, the best men have a gift for John. And don't worry, this is slightly less controversial than the sword. It's a book.
Do you want me to hold it?
But not just any book. This one's called How to Be a Husband. And John knows this already. And I have to say, it's been something of a Bible for me, a marriage manual, a cheat code, the kind of thing that really should come free with the engagement ring. Some of the chapters are absolute gems. Getting married, why on earth would you? Husbands, are we still relevant? Short chapter, that one. The pros and cons of procreation. Keeping the magic alive. And no, Shaani, that's not a deep dive into Harry Potter and the prisoner of emotional availability. But my personal favourite, the final chapter, How to Be Wrong. Now, this is truly vital advice because any married man here will tell you being wrong isn't just an occasional mishap. It's a way of life. You'll be wrong even when you're right, especially when you're right. So John now has all the ammo to deal with the complexities of marriage. We really should finish on the new Mrs. Shaani. Mrs. Seeley even. Killed my own punchline. But not before we address the elephant in the room. John's body art. John's tattoos really tell the story of his life. He has a giant falcon on one arm, twin symbology on the other, and the name of his deceased pets across his chest. It's like a family photo album if the album was designed halfway through a David Attenborough documentary. And the best part is, John, they're for life. Just like marriage. Which means in 30 years' time, that majestic falcon might be a slightly confused pigeon. The twin symbols will look like two snakes on a roller coaster. And the dog names will be a very complicated Wi-Fi password. So now we do have to have a final word on the bride, the new Mrs. Seeley. Shaani is clever, kind, stunning, Indian by heritage, Essex by upbringing, and somehow an Arsenal fan. They're perfect for each other. It's like watching EastEnders and Bollywood collide in a rom-com, with their two cats silently judging in the background. Together they've built a beautiful life, and so for the final time, we ask everyone to be upstanding for the new Mr. and Mrs. Seeley. Mr. and Mrs. Seeley.
Nice.